I want to talk about what first thing is when do you step in as a parent, because I've had quite a few parents call me with issues. A lot of times when parents call me with issues, they're not issues, but
Mhm.
sometimes they are. So it's like there's a time and a place where a parent should step in, and the on the flip side of that is I want to talk to the coaches about certain things about that too. So like this is common. So I mean, I could pick which one happened this week or last week or the month before. This is the scenario. Okay, so one of the parents called me the other day, concerned for their son, right? Concerned for their son. So I initially my radar goes up. Okay, like what's the issue here? But so in this issue is she was, the mom was really good about it. She said, like, listen, I know where my son stands, but he is playing for plays AAA, and he's getting like very minimal ice time in AAA. And he played, whatever. A lot of issues come in with that. So she said, I'm trying to deal with it to the point where I think I need to talk to the coach because my son's confidence is like shot. And like, how would you approach it? What would you do? Um, and when the son did talk to the coach a little bit, it was like they gave him the generic work hard or whatever. So okay, fine. So we had the conversation. I said, look, it's. I'm going to be honest with you. When I hear that a player in youth hockey is getting minimal shifts, like we're talking 2 to 3 a period, and they don't get a chance to develop, that actually bothers me. And so some people could say, well, it's hockey. Well, yeah, it is, but it's not. What we have to remember as well, I'll go to that in a minute. So it was like, how do I approach this? I feel like I need to talk to the coach and all that stuff. And I'm like, absolutely. That's what I said. Absolutely. I said, there's really in youth hockey, like with people, there's people that put a spin on this like it's the most serious thing in the world, and it's fair is fair. You play your best players and all that stuff, and so sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, when it's happening to your kid, it's not. It's no fun. So what I was telling her was, yeah, you need to talk to the coach, and you need to. It's not about the ice time. It's about it is, but it's you're not talking about just the ice time. It's about giving a fair chance. Like why? Like I don't understand in a youth hockey why you would keep someone if you're not playing them, because like the issue is, and what I told her is we're all paying the same money when you play youth hockey, so you don't get to get benched unless it's a disciplinary thing, right? So anyways, I said, for sure, you talk, and let me talk to your son about what he can do. So what I did with him the other night is I sat him down and I said, okay, here's the issues, and I said there's a couple things we can do. One is we can bitch about it and not do anything about it and just suck our thumb and all that stuff. And I understand. I said, because when I played hockey, I was never the guy that I never missed a shift. In fact, I would get extra, right, in youth hockey. It was just nothing to complain about. And when I got to junior, my first year, like any junior player, you start missing shifts or periods or whatever because you're 4 years younger, 5 years younger, and you're not good enough, or you're not good enough to be trusted all the time. Until you have that happen to you, you have no idea what that does to you. So when you're 16 years old, or let's say junior, like OHL, CHL, college, pro, when you lose ice time, it's acceptable because now you're playing for keeps. The coach has a job, you have a job to do. You might have a scholar, you're going to have your school paid for. Like even if you don't getting paid for it, there's consequences, and you're getting some benefit out of playing that league. You're getting scouted to the NHL, maybe you're getting your school paid for. So sitting there is now a choice if you want to do it or not. You have to work yourself out. But when it comes to youth hockey, wow,
Mhm.
like we're all paying the same money. So I think, yeah. So my point with this is like, when does a parent actually step in?
Mhm.
Now, if it's like you're missing one shift, or you're getting, like there's little things that people don't have any right to complain about because sometimes stuff happens. But when your son, you have to basically, what I'm saying here is when you have a child, there's a point where you actually have to protect them,
Right.
because if they are getting, if your son is in a situation at this point where they're actually as much as I don't like to say someone's taking your confidence, because I don't totally believe in that, but in this situation, someone's actually taking your confidence.
Mhm.
Or if someone was being more abusive, and I'm not just saying, hey, toughen up, like that's not abusive, but when someone gets on you in a real negative way, then you do have to approach your coach and take care of your son. So it's like protecting them from, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Maybe it's not mental abuse, but it's like damage. Hockey's supposed to be fun
right.
at this level, so you can interrupt me and probably straighten me out.
Yeah. So two things. First, the important first thing that we're kind of talking about is you need to know where's the line as the parent of my kid needs to figure out how to deal with a little bit of adversity versus my kid is kind of helpless here.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
we need to find the line, and you have to be as honest as possible as mom and dad, which is hard because it's your kid and you don't want anything bad to happen, and you don't like seeing their feelings hurt and all of that kind of stuff that surrounds this type of circumstance. But you have to be very honest about where the line is. So what was nice about this circumstance is you can tell by talking to the parents the tone of the conversation.
Yeah.
So in talking with this parent, it was like you said, I know where my kid stands. I'm not saying he's the best player ever. I'm not saying he's getting drafted first round and someone is sabotaging his
Hockey career.
hockey career.
Yeah, it's the
But
person.
yeah, but it's like the kid should be getting a little bit more of a chance or more of a bone than he's getting, and it might be because the kid is too passive or too aggressive or too fill in the blank with whatever the term is that applies to your kid. That is part of the reason for it, because some kids are just more assertive, like they just are more willing to get in the battle and go take ice time and go do those things, and other kids aren't. And I remember being young, that it was a common thing for me is I'm just nice, like I'm just a nice boy.
Yeah.
Right. And that used to drive me nuts. And by the time I was like grade 9 into high school, I was so tired of that being something associated with me, that I'm just nice and I'm a nice kid, that I started to go and be overly aggressive and assert myself in ways that I hadn't before to get myself some opportunity. So you have to kind of juggle all these things as mom and dad and figure out, okay, when is it my kid, is there something for my kid to do versus I need to step in and do something, or a combination of both of those things. And
Yeah.
most of the time it's going to be a combination of both those things, where mom and dad can step in to help and the kid needs to be doing the work. It's not just I'm going to go complain to the coach because he got sat for a period because he had a tantrum on the ice. It's like, no, he actually deserved to sit that time. Right? So it's about the
Yep.
honesty thing.
Yep.
Plays like a crucial role in this. So I wanted to just circle on that first. And then second thing, I'm going to give a little bit of pushback, because you made a point in a past episode where you talked about how equal ice time isn't fair. So we're talking about things
fair is not equal.
Yeah, so if you give everyone on the team equal ice time, that's not necessarily fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not disputing that at all.
Right. So because I understand like the distinction between those two things, but maybe for people listening, so for this kid, for example, he's not getting equal ice time.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, you're saying, well, equal ice time isn't necessarily fair always. So let's say as applied to this circumstance, or just more generally, how do you kind of square those two?
Okay, so when I talk about being fair, when we talk about being fair or having equal ice time does not mean fair, because equal ice time means, and if you use just the term equal, means that you get one, I get one, you get one, right?
Yep.
That's equal. That doesn't make it fair. Like on the onset, it does. It's like if we have 3, everyone gets 1. That's fair. Well, that really doesn't add up, because if every time you go on the ice, you're playing a good hard shift, you're giving it everything you've got, and so does this guy here. But when I go on the ice, I kind of dog it, or I get a stupid penalty because I'm lazy, or I have a shit attitude, like any of those type of things, then I shouldn't have the same ice time as you, because I need to learn a lesson. True?
Yep.
Okay. The other thing would be, so that would make it unfair to play us all 3 the exact same, right?
Yep.
What else would be unfair is that at some point your team should want to win. Like I'm never going to be a believer in, because we've all played on teams in youth, and my son, you don't have a son. My son played, and it was like, Yeah, but we could win now. Like now we could win.
Yeah.
So like in maybe it's an important power play. It's like you don't just equal would be like, okay, next guy. And that, well, that's not fair. It's not fair for a couple reasons. It's not fair because you've been busting your ass and you actually put points on the board and you're the better player with a better attitude than me.
Mhm.
And for 1 or 2 shifts in a game or to win a tournament or whatever, it's not fair to you now that I get your ice.
Right.
So that's the distinction that I want to make about that. In this case, when a parent has a deep concern about their kids and they're not in the mix for a regular shift just on any given day, what are you doing? So now you're protecting your kid because now it's not fair on a different level. It's like, okay, your dad paid 1,000, this guy's dad paid 1,000, I paid 1,000, but for some reason I don't get to play because the coach thinks that my 1,000 is not as good enough. No, I don't mean it that way. What I mean is, you just because.
Yeah, it's like the opportunity isn't there now.
No, there's
right?
zero opportunity to get
opportunity,
better.
right?
It's just like, no, you're going to get 2 shifts of a period. Well, that's not what we paid for, and it's not right at youth hockey.
Yeah.
At youth hockey,
Right.
so that kid has to have an opportunity to get on the ice to play. And then in certain situations, or if he's not going, then you could take like I'm obviously I don't even have to explain this. I'm all for in youth hockey as well that if you didn't if you had a shift where you're really dogging it, I don't mind taking a shift away from you and giving it to someone else. That's okay in my opinion.
Yep.
That's okay. But to sit there and say this person, this guy right here only gets 2 shifts a period because he's in a rotation or something, wrong.
Yep.
Wrong. Like don't have that kid.
Yeah.
Because it's like the reality is from a parent, and I don't think the parents probably didn't understand if they were told what this was happening, but if they knew that they were going to get 2 shifts a game, I don't think that kid would be playing that team. He'd go play somewhere else for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not right. It's not right. So what else I want to say about that? So yeah, as a parent, this is where you do need to step in. You have to have a conversation. Not you don't have to be all that confrontational, but you have to have an adult conversation and bring up these type of points. It's like, dude, it's like 3 shifts a period.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't get to play. Like he gets to play every 8 minutes. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And and teaching them what they're kind of doing to your son and the family.